Justin Fields going to the Bears. Good pick, decent pick, bad pick.
Bears.
What do you think? Justin Fields is going to be the quarterback of the future.
I like it, bro. I like it. You know what's crazy, though? The only thing, I give Mel Kiper credit. He's been doing this for 43, 44 years. The man knows the ins and outs of every fucking part of the sport of football, and I love listening to him, especially on days like today, because he obviously follows college students very in-depth. He did make the comparison to Chicago's front office, making a pick similar to Justin Fields and Mitchell Trubisky, the dual threat, big arm, great year. Obviously, them referencing 2019 because last year was a shortened season for the Big Ten, and they drafted a quarterback like that a couple of years ago that didn't exactly pan out, and they traded up. Did they trade up for Mitchell or they had Mitchell?
I don't.
They traded up for Mitchell, right? I think they traded up for Mitchell.
Oh no, it didn't work out for them.
Yeah, but I'm almost positive they traded up for Mitchell, and it bit them in the ass, obviously. And now we're just looking at this like, can Justin's mechanics be altered enough? Mm-hmm. Does Matt Nagy have enough left in him to correct the mistakes of Justin Fields? And offensively, can they produce? I mean, we all know on paper how good that the Bears could be with Jimmy Graham being in that system, and obviously Allen Robinson coming back for another year. What's this guy's name? Tyreek Cohen will be coming back from an ACL injury. We also saw Jordan Montgomery take a step in the right direction last year when you started getting touches later in the season. Mm-hmm. And some of the other receivers that Chicago had kind of step up later in the year. Chicago has potential. And obviously with our segment after the draft and with the news of Green Bay, who's to say that Chicago can't be in the playoffs again if Justin Fields ends up starting? But we all know that there's going to be a quarterback controversy over there with the signing of Andy Dalton and Nick Foles still being on this roster, making $9 million to kind of just chill.
The way that I see it is Chicago fans should be celebrating for once because they actually have a guy that they could really rally around. Yeah. I imagine when Mitchell Trubisky was drafted a couple of years ago that the fans were not happy with that pick. And deservedly so, because he has turned out to be nothing but mediocre throughout his NFL career so far. So when it comes to Justin Fields, I think he's going to be a solid guy for the Bears. I don't know if he's going to be the day one starter. I think that will be worked out within the next couple of months or so. It wouldn't surprise me if they either go with Andy Dalton or Nick Foles as a day one starter.
Probably Andy. I think Nick Foles is terrible anywhere outside of Philly.
But I think as long as they're able to work out the mechanical issues that Justin Fields has with his throwing motion, because
somebody starts here.
Yeah, somebody actually did like a really good video where they like compared like the different throwing motions of like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers.
I sent it to you. It's on Twitter.
Yeah, and there's just a certain motion that you're supposed to have as a quarterback when you're throwing the ball, and yeah, his is like. It's weird. Like I don't even know like how he does it. It's just like
so. Like everybody,
it's almost like a flick. It's almost like a flick.
They say that when you're clearing, the ball should be up above your elbow. Like as you're clearing through, the ball should be here, like almost at your ear as you're clearing it up to clear the spot. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields, his release starts here. He winds up. He literally starts from the bottom and goes over, and that's just a very unorthodox throwing motion. And believe it or not, that is what Tim Tebow had coming out of Florida. A lot of his throws coming from the left side. He started as low as humanly possible and almost like looked like he cranked it up, in which why he was so inaccurate in his brief NFL stint, in which we'll talk about him later as well. He had a tryout with Jacksonville Jaguars at the tight end position. Who's to say he doesn't make that offense? Who's to say he doesn't make that roster with Urban Meyer, his former head coach, being at the helm of Jacksonville now? I'm just saying, Tim Tebow at tight end, that'd be a little weird.
But with Justin Fields, I think it was a good pick for Chicago.
Yeah.
This is not one of those moves where I'm instantly hating on it for Chicago making this move. This is going to be one that I think when we look back at it in a couple of years from now, I think it's going to be worth it. Because when you look at Justin Fields, even though that he has those mechanical issues in his throwing arm, it didn't stop him from being one of the best quarterbacks in college football the past 2 years. The guy was extremely efficient. He rarely turned the ball over. And he does have that dual threat option that a lot of guys and a lot of teams look for in a quarterback. And it's almost kind of like a prerequisite now when you really look at quarterbacks that are coming into the league. It almost is like you not only do you need to throw the ball well, but if you can expand the play with your feet and pick up some first downs that way, that's a huge feather in your cap. And Justin Fields definitely fits that description to a T. So I think it's a good move for Chicago. I don't know how some people from Ohio State feel about that because our friend Tyree was not too thrilled about him going to Chicago, but I think it was a move that Chicago had to make.
Man, it was like anywhere but Chicago.
But look, I wouldn't have minded him going to New England, but I think it's a good fit. Hopefully he can.
I hope so. I really hope so for his case, man. That man was disrespected.
Yeah.
Phil Sims' son, Chris Sims, projected him to go 32nd to the Bucks.
That's so disrespectful, dude. Like, it's one thing to be off. He was off on a whole nother planet, dude. Like, even the NFL.com mock draft that we talked about last week had him at 24 going to Pittsburgh. That just seemed too out of the that was just out of the possibility of having. Yeah, it was disrespectful. And I think it was an over exaggeration of his arm mechanics when he throws the ball. And
you just need a good quarterbacks coach, man. That's all you need is coaching in this league. And we all know the NFL has plenty of talented coaching staff members.
I said that he was the third best quarterback in this draft, if not top two. He was the fourth picked. So you had Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance go ahead of him. But I honestly think that Justin Fields is better than Zach Wilson and Trey Lance. So,
but who are we? Just regular guys.
Exactly. We don't get paid millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars to scout these guys. But if I put my money on it, I like Justin. I like Justin over Trey Lance and Zach Wilson. But it's like you said, what do we know?